morning. My name is Anam Abbas, and I was really confused about what to talk about because मुझे नहीं पता था कि audience members की क्या sort of makeup होगा. So I'd like to ask a couple of questions before. एक timer था उसका आप में से कितने लोग filmmakers हैं? Excellent. And how many of you are storytellers and that you're doing using other mediums? Only one storyteller, even though there are more filmmakers. That's bizarre. So, because global theme justice है, मैंने बड़ा सोचा कि मेरा काम justice में पता नहीं कोई मतलब इतनी obviously शायद relate ना हो. But then I thought about like my career making films in Pakistan, and I realized that the struggle or the main रुकावटें जो आई हैं वो freedom of expression की realm में आई हैं. So I would like to also ask now, how many of you think that Pakistan gives us the freedom to express ourselves? Okay, one gentleman believes that is true. My experience has been the opposite. I'm really glad that I'm preaching to the converted. Maybe I shouldn't give this talk. But I do believe that Pakistan freedom of expression is not considered a virtue. It's not a value जो हम जिसमें हम believe करते हैं. And it's not just coming from institutions. I think ये एक societal sort of mindset है that this is literally not something that's in our ideology, in our spiritual beliefs, and how we want to be citizens of this country. That this is not a priority for us, and I believe that this is why justice is something that's so far out of our reach in Pakistan. उसके अंदर बहुत सारे मसले हैं, corruption हो गई, ये हो गया, वो हो गया. But a major obstacle is also the fact that we cannot speak about our masle, our traumas, the violence that we experience. We are constantly facing censorship, and then also not from institutions but from each other all the time. So I hope that that we can learn to espouse this as a value. So I'll begin with because I didn't realize this growing up. I grew up very sheltered. And then मैं यूनिवर्सिटी के लिए बाहर चली गई, मैं 7-8 साल बाद वापस आई और जब मैंने फिल्में बनानी शुरू की, I was very green. I had not much idea about how this country worked, and slowly मुझे खुद ही पाकिस्तान ने सिखाया कि कैसे system कैसे जाता है. So my first film was a very innocuous film about the Lucky Irani Circus. And I want a caveat before I go further is I'm a struggling filmmaker. All the films that I will talk about, all the projects have been 0 to no budget, self-funded. तो अगर किसी ने मुझे बाद में ये पूछना है कि successful filmmaker कैसे बनना है, पैसे कैसे कमाने हैं, मुझे नहीं पता. मुझे पता है. So my first film was about the circus. We 5-6 दिन मैंने shoot किया, उनके साथ travel किया. और ये बचपन से मैंने सुना था, so I was really excited. And then it took me 5 years to actually go back to the edit, and so in 2014 I finally released the film. And मुझे इजाज़त थी from the circus owners to film it, but after they saw the film, they had problems with अपने tents क्यों दिखाए हैं, अपने उनका रहना सहना क्यों दिखाया है. वो शायद चाह रहे थे कि मैं सिर्फ जो glamorous on stage life है, जो by the way अगर कोई like safety nets नहीं होते तो वो भी काफ़ी problematic है. And there's little children who are born into the circus, and there's no legalities to what goes on in the circus. But I made a film that was joyous and about freedom and finding freedom in the circus. But उसी वक्त मुझे पता चला कि जो सच्चाई है उसको कोई appreciate नहीं करता और उसको खुदाफिज कहने की कोशिश करते हैं. और मुझे मतलब it feels like an attack to people when सच्चाई is spoken, even about that. And for me, I made a very positive, loving film about the circus. Like, and right away, it was not received the way I hoped it would. Right after that, I started a project which still isn't finished. If somebody has money, please give it to me so I can finish it. 2014 I met filmmaker Saad Khan, and I was signed up with him to produce this documentary feature called Showgirls of Pakistan. And it's a film that follows Mujra dancers in Lahore and Multan ke jo theatre circuits. Now, as a woman growing up in Pakistan, this is not something that was spoken about in my household. Like a TV cable pe reruns ho rahe hote hain, change the channel quickly, and you're like, "How kisi nahi dekha?" But I was very interested in performance. I always felt like an outsider growing up because I'm a weirdo. But then I realized that there are actual communities that are marginalized and in the peripheries of Pakistan, and I wanted to explore that. And as a woman, I was really interested that bilkul hi aapke paas societal protections na ho, what is life like in Pakistan? So we've been shooting this film for several years and have received no support from anybody, and have received threats from a lot of people because we're speaking about a very large subculture. Lahore में कोई 10 theatre हैं जिसमें रोज double bill shows होते हैं जो packed होते हैं. So this is a huge part of sexuality, is a huge part of our culture, as it is in any culture, and we cannot find it in ourselves to speak about it. And the consequences are, every year a few of these women are shot to death by lovers, by policemen, by theatre में जो भी male patriarchy hai, the owners, the directors, right? Why? Because they can. Because these women are considered not human. They're dehumanized, they have no value, and because we can't talk about it, they are able to enact violence upon them without any consequences. So our silencing, even though we consider the silencing as हया की वजह से या इस्लाम के खिलाफ है या जो भी है, we are erasing actual lived experiences of people, and we're actually turning our face away from something that we can help, right? We can't say कि किसी भी society में we can just like erase sexuality, or we can erase the concept of sex work, or हमें नहीं पसंद तो दूसरा बंदा क्यों कर रहा है. But the point is, men consume, and the women who are consumed, they are the bad guys, right? So these are things that we need to start understanding, and we only understand if we tell the stories of the people who are victimized, or who are living these lives as a choice, right? So most of the women that we film, they raise entire families from doing the work that they do, and yet we cannot see them in any other light other than our own prejudice. So anyways, this is a project that's taken 5 years because of lack of support, but again it's made me realize how many huge truths and experiences hai hamari community mein which we are just completely ignorant about, and that is why injustices take place, because we turn our gaze away, because we think we're better than this, or we think ye nahi sahi. We categorize things in black and white. And don't see the grays, because in the grays we relate to people. I relate to these women so much; they're my friends, and I don't relate to most of the people that I meet in my life. So that's a place where storytelling and filmmaking can take you, and you have to be brave enough to go there. उसके बाद जिस तरह mention किया, Facing Festival didn't really go anywhere, but 2 साल चला था. In 2015, I was asked to be the director, and I programmed. There was a 2-day festival. कुछ इतनी ज़्यादा फिल्में नहीं थी, तो मैंने 3 पाकिस्तानी डॉक्यूमेंट्रीज प्रोग्राम की थी. में से एक NC की फिल्म थी, a student film. One was Among the Believers, this is Moon Naqvi's film about Lal Masjid, and also about the madrasa system that Lal Masjid is a part of. And there's another film called The Siege in Quetta, which was about the violence that the Hazara community is facing. Unfortunately, हमने PNCA में करने की कोशिश की थी, और PNCA में अगर आप कुछ भी करें, मैं सीख रही थी सब कुछ, मुझे नहीं पता था. आपको सेंसर बोर्ड के थ्रू जाना पड़ता है, और सेंसर बोर्ड ने बड़े आराम से सारी 3 पाकिस्तानी फिल्म्स को बैन कर दिया. I appealed this ban. Also there was like 3 days left to the festival. I was like, मैं क्या प्रोग्राम करूँगी, इतना बड़ा गैप हो गया. तो मैंने अपील किया. एक बोर्ड बैठी of it was like 11 men, 1 woman. They were from various political parties and intelligence agencies, and I had to like convince them कि आप क्यों नहीं चला रहे. तो इस फिल्म का उन्होंने कहा कि ये तो पाकिस्तान का बता रहा है कि पाकिस्तान is a failed state, और Lal Masjid is a dead issue. This is 2015, so we're 1 year after APS, and Jibran Nasser and his fellow like legal comrades were literally had this dude in court उस वक्त, so it was not an issue. PNC is like walking distance from Lal Masjid. And you know, they're saying, ये तो कोई issue ही नहीं है. And then फिर ये भी साथ सब कह रहे हैं, filmmaker is a really good film. But ये हमारी reputation खराब करेगी. और उस वक्त ये film कोई like दुनिया में 50,000 festivals से होके आ चुकी थी और awards भी जीती थे और more like he's now in his 4th film, like he's a a filmmaker who gets money to make his films because he's respected. But हम ये अपनी बात, अपनी कहानी जो हमारे मोहल्ले की कहानी है उसको हम नहीं सुन सकते. Because the establishment knows how dangerous the truth is and they just don't want us to discuss it, right? And then with the Koita film, they were like, and the film was very apolitical in terms of it was just talking to families there about their pain and about their loss. So it wasn't talking about kaun karwa raha hai, kaun nahi karwa raha or kya politics hain of the genocide against the Hazaras. And the board said, ये फिल्म ये तो नहीं बता रही कि इंडिया और इसराइल करा रहा है, तो ये मतलब हमारा एजेंडा है उस पर नहीं ये पूरी तरीके से ये नहीं प्ले की जा सकती. And I mean, I wasn't very prepared to talk to intelligence people. That's not something I do every day. So I didn't have many responses, and I was quite shocked. And at the end of the session, like when I had, I was trying to convince them because the values kya hai. And then at the end I was like, well, freedom of speech. And they, like, kid you not, they literally laughed and got up off the table, the meeting is over. So that is what the establishment believes or conceives of this right, which is our human fundamental right as citizens of a free country. I think it's a joke, which I realized later. And there's an article in Dawn about what happened, so I was reading. Then I was in Karachi, and Atika Odo Saiba ne ek conference shuru ki thi. It's called Focus Pakistan, about it's a film industry conference. उसके ऊपर एक सेशन हो रहा था सेंसर बोर्ड के बारे में, and उसके ऊपर कोई मतलब some like veteran actors भी थे, and ये उस वक्त जो थे जिनके साथ मेरी बातचीत हुई थी वो भी आए हुए थे. तो उनके साथ मैंने फुल खड़ा किया था because वो तो बैठ के कहे थे कि हाँ हम बड़ी कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि पाकिस्तान में सेंसरशिप कम हो जाए. And for them the idea was कि कितने हम like item numbers शायद ज़्यादा allow कर लें, right? As if our concern in having more freedom in our storytelling and our media is only for entertainment and not for actual politics. So उस वक्त तो मैंने काफ़ी I got up and I called him out, and then he got very flustered. तो थोड़ा सा मतलब we were shouting, मेरे साथ मेरी colleague भी थी, afterwards he came up to me outside the hall and he's like, मैंने तो आपको चाय भी पिलाई थी. That's how cheap my values are. Why did you call me out when you had tea and biscuits? So very frustrated with the way Showgirls was going and all of these things. I started my own web series called Ladies Only, which was self-funded, and uske andar main thoda sa Western model se bhi inspired hui thi. Uske waqt Broad City or Girls, it's like sort of urban women series shuru hui thi, and I wanted to insert our experiences. So this web series sort of is about urban single Pakistani women in our lives. It was received sort of okayly, lekin with this series I collaborated with a lot of women and I was very satisfied and I got a niche audience. And I was in Karachi at this point, had been working full time but also doing this on my evenings and weekends. And a male colleague came up to me, I think after all this, it's a 6-episode series. He said, yeah, koi corporate hai jo web series banana cha rahi hai about women, and they came up to me to direct it, a guy. And I was like, well, why don't you speak to Anam? She's already done something about it, something like this. Because they wanted to sponsor it. And they're like, no, too much ho jayega. So, even from like when we make content, it's not just कि establishments आपको रोकेगी, आपको censor करेगी, आपका Facebook page delete कर लेगी. The sources of money are always coming with some sort of agenda, right? अगर गोरा आपको पैसे देगा तो उनकी कोई CV होएगी, उनकी जो भी global foreign policy उसका एक agenda है वो आपने follow करना होगा. अगर corporate दे रही है उन्होंने भी उनकी भी जो feminism है वो performative ही होती है, right? everybody is beautiful, dark is beautiful, not actual feminism, right? And उन्होंने भी देखना होता है, उन्होंने अपने audience को खुश रखना होता है. अगर government आपको there's no arts funding in Pakistan, लेकिन अगर government कभी दे भी दे, वो कहेगी कि आप मतलब कढ़ाई के बारे में फिल्म बना रहे हैं या मतलब मुझे नहीं पता और क्या ट्रक आर्ट के बारे में फिल्म बना रहे हैं. So time and again I'm like learning and being disappointed कि यार मतलब क्या सीन है? How do you make stuff? So during this time also, this is an image from one of the episodes of my web series, and the sort of icon of freedom of expression right now. There's several women, but जो सबको जिसका पता होगा is Kandil Baloch, and I wanted to make an episode about her, just about like how people in Islamabad were talking about her. Right? I thought it was very interesting. ये जो Pakistani get-togethers होते हैं, उसके अंदर these like drawing room people, how they speak about her. And before I could do that, she was killed, and feeling really this piece comes from like a lot of frustration and despair, and like not knowing what to do. And I was on Instagram पे उस वक्त like Stanford rapist था, उसको कोई like 3 महीने की सजा मिली थी, और उसको जो Western feminists हैं जो रहते हैं उनकी frustration का ये इज़हार था कि वो online spaces पे कह रही थी कि हम बदवाएं दे रहे थे मिलके, we're like we're gonna cast a spell on him. So I found that that really resonated with me, and so this episode is a lanat, and it's called Lanat. Is my audio? but the process of creating it and the process of being able to share it was cathartic for us. इसके अंदर कुछ शक्ति है जो शायद कभी कोई देख ले, शायद माइंड भी कर दे, लेकिन forget that. Right after this, so there's a lot of media cover, and I'm going according to like my work as well. I'm sorry, I'm going to digress off of like the main course of talk right now. But जब ये हुआ था तो बहुत सारी international media का भी attention हुई थी, and then everyone's making films and think pieces about them, and everybody started calling her Pakistan's Kim Kardashian, and we took like offense to that because Kandil ki story is a working class woman's story, and Kim Kardashian's story is not that. So फिर हमने एक film shoot करनी शुरू की about her, and then eventually it was commissioned by Guardian UK, and if you want to watch it online, it's available. So this is me paying tribute to Kandil selfie with this piece of shit. And इस film का भी यही था कि I mean, so in this way, this is us filling holes in a story that became about her sexuality and nothing else, right? And for me, Camille was very political, and that is why she was killed, and not for her sexuality. But that's the fate of anybody who speaks their mind in Pakistan. Camille की कहानी हमें इसलिए पता है क्योंकि वो social media पे थी. But there's, Sabine Mahmood's kahani. There's several other kahanis that, we don't even hear about. I started the Documentary Association of Pakistan with several documentary colleagues around Pakistan around 2016. हमारा ये सारी जो frustrations हैं ये सारी मिलके एक जगह पे आई that we are not finding spaces to tell our stories even in our country. So we make films, या तो खुद ही से बना लेते हैं या हमें कोई गोरे कमीशन कर लेते हैं. So we somehow make them, but then who sees them, right? They play in international film festivals, and चलो उनको थोड़ा सा शायद इंसाइट मिल जाए पाकिस्तान के बारे में, लेकिन हम फिल्में इसलिए बना रहे हैं ताकि हम अपने लोगों के साथ शेयर करें और डिस्कस करें. So the Documentary Association of Pakistan started doing documentary screenings in Lahore, Karachi and Islamabad. It's a capital के बाहर है सारा system, so जो हमें फिल्में मिलती हैं और हम local and unlocal फिल्में चलाते हैं, वो हमें स्क्रीनिंग फीस नहीं चार्ज करते. जो वेन्यूज़ के साथ हम काम करते हैं वो हमें कोई पैसे नहीं चार्ज करते और आगे हम कोई टिकट नहीं लेते. और क्योंकि हम डिफरेंट सिटीज़ में इसलिए हम डिफरेंट सिटीज़ में चला सकते हैं. So we started screening the work of filmmakers that we know, whether they're international or Pakistani, and in that way we are creating now some space. And mashallah, this year we just got a little bit of money to take this program of films in 7 other cities in Pakistan. So we'll be going to like Swat and Peshawar, Hyderabad, Circus, several other cities, Gujranwala. तो हमारा मकसद ये है कि जो फिल्में हम बनाते हैं जो शायद किसी कराची के फेस्टिवल में चल जाए या लाहौर में फिल्म फेस्टिवल होता है उसमें चल जाए, कि हम वो एक प्रोग्राम बनाएं. इस प्रोग्राम में मोस्टली पाकिस्तानी फिल्में हैं और हम ऐसी जगहों पे लेके जाएं जहाँ पे शायद ये कॉन्वर्सेशंस नहीं पहुँच रही, and then also find filmmakers inshallah in these cities who we can sort of bring into our little group and our community and screen their films with us and so on and so forth. And this has to be, जो हमें funding मिली भी है, it's going to just cover our flights or our cars or whatever, so we're not getting paid for this. But this is the work that you have to do to create spaces that live outside of censorship. ये मतलब आपको कोई पैसे नहीं देगा इसको वैसे काम करने के लिए, right? So because everywhere you go, like इस्लामाबाद में कुछ खास नहीं रहा, T2F भी कराची में जो है उसकी बहुत मसले चले हैं after Sabine's death, right? Those spaces are taken away from us. और ये तो बड़ी शहरों की बात है, तो आप छोटे शहरों में सोचें क्या है, मतलब there's no student unions allowed in our country. So even university spaces are very conservative. आप हबीब यूनिवर्सिटी देख लें कराची में, it's supposed to be a liberal arts university. आप तो जाके उनके प्रोफेसर से उनके स्टूडेंट्स से बात करें जितनी सेंसरशिप उनको फेस करनी पड़ रही है. So पाकिस्तान की सारी spaces increasingly constrict होती जा रही हैं in terms of what we're allowed to say and what we're allowed to talk about. So this is one of our initiatives, and if you guys have films, please share with them. Share your films with us, and if you want to volunteer with us to just run events, take pictures at our events, please, we'd love to have you. I was involved in the Audit Mart in 2017 in Karachi. I was there. My friends were organizing the Mendius gig. Again, this is something, if you guys have been following it, the issue किसी को ये नहीं हुआ कि हाँ औरतों में violence होना चाहिए. No one's gonna say that, right? और हमारे जो औरत मार्च का एजेंडा था, we 2 pages का था, बहुत intersectional था, उसके अंदर labor issues थे, housing issues थे, पता नहीं हर चीज़ हमने cover कर ली थी, कोई मतलब सबको include करें. लेकिन जो conversation हुई है उसके बाद, जो backlash हुआ है, वो ज़ुबान पे हुआ है कि ये औरतें ज़ुबान क्यों इस्तेमाल कर रही हैं. Why are they talking about their bodily autonomy? Why are they talking about sexuality? उन्होंने ये अल्फाज ही क्यों यूज़ कर लिए? ये अल्फाज ही मतलब मुँह खोलना ही बेहयाई है, which is in fact is what keeps us where we are, right? That we're not allowed to talk about ourselves. The minute we open our mouths, we are bad women, right? And if we're opening our mouths, talking about sexual harassment, talking about our rights, talking about, मतलब और मजाक से बात कर रहे हैं, तो वो तो बिल्कुल ही मतलब a lot of people say कि लड़कियां औरतें नाच क्यों रहेंगी इस प्रोटेस्ट पे? क्योंकि हम रो ही रहे हैं तो फिर ही saying, right? So our celebration or joy or creativity or expression, none of that is okay, right? Making a joke about our trauma is not okay. So even the way we're allowed to express as women our issues is defined. आप सिर्फ इस language को use करके अपने बारे में, अपनी rights के बारे में बात कर सकते हैं. So already you're being constricted. उसके अंदर censorship आ गई है. और ये हया की बात नहीं है. This is literally because you need certain vocabulary to talk about certain things. So अगर vocabulary आपने zero कर ली है तो हम आगे किधर जाएं, right? So this is us taking ownership of the street, freedom of expression. But कराची में आप जाएंगे भी जाएं, हर जगह वही right wing जो पता नहीं क्या महफिलें हो रही होती हैं, हर जगह वो फैली हैं. So हमने एक छोटा सा अपने भी we made our mark. I also started a band and we performed for the first time at Oil March. That was a reclamation of space. But and you'll get to hear the song at the end if you stay that long. It was not played on, it has still hasn't played on any radio channel, even though we've been on BBC and NTS, like at least 15 Pakistani and Indian publications have written about us, but we're like, kuch humne ek do alfaz use kar liye. If you listen to radio right now, the kind of like the rap music that they play, or even like jo bro Pakistani ke bro rappers and the kind of language they use, that's okay, but you know, the 2 words that I use are not okay, because I'm a girl and I'm talking about boys. साथ ही ऑयल मार्च के बिल्कुल साथ ही पश्तून तहफ़्फ़ुज़ मूवमेंट kind of reached कराची, वहाँ पे जलसा हुआ. So ऑयल मार्च के जो ऑर्गेनाइजर हैं, we extended our solidarity to PTM. We filmed a documentary about what we saw at the event, जहाँ पे मिसिंग लोगों के बारे में बातचीत हो रही थी. A lot of feminist leaders were there speaking about it. And we all, I don't know if anybody, how many people do not know what Pashtun movement is? Everybody knows? How do you know? Social media, right? There's not much conversation about PTM on mainstream media or jo bhi hai, it's propaganda. So this is, you know, the most exciting indigenous movement that's come out of Pakistan in recent history, and you're not allowed to talk about it. Abhi tak kai activists are missing, we all know this. This young woman was fired from her job for being associated with the movement. So again, we all know how this goes. Am I at time? Yeah? So this is a mural that we made in Karachi. Girls at Abbas and the Fairless Collective kind of came together with some volunteers, and we made this mural, and it was around for a couple of years. There's a music video that you'll see for my band, and you know it features in here. But then abhi last time jab main Karachi gayi thi, so they've painted over it. It was really tragic, but it's also fine. A, because we've captured it on video, so it's iconic. But B, a lot of the things that we'll do, and you know, if you are storytellers, जो भी आपने interventions करनी है, जो भी आपने कहानियाँ सुनानी है, I think what I've experienced and what I try to like tell myself to keep on going is the process of creating these stories, the process of telling these stories, the collaborations that you do. You know, when you turn your camera onto somebody who needs to tell their story, uski intrinsic value hai. So even if this was ephemeral, agar ye 2 saal baad gayab hogi, I don't think the efforts that we do are useless. I think जो हम human connections बना लेते हैं with each other by telling each other stories are what's going to build our society and build these communication channels that will allow justice to finally take place, and then that's the work that we have to do, and that's the work that we can do because look at the social media pages log band karenge. So we have the means, and most of I feel like the work that I've completed successfully is online and it's accessible, and that's why it's fabulous because it's, you know, I haven't won any awards and that's fine because I'm able to create content that will reach people. It might not reach 5 million people and I cannot monetize it on Facebook, but it'll reach 15,000 people. And that's enough for me, and I think that's the work that we start to do. Even if अगर आप commercial, obviously हम सब ने bills अपने pay करने हैं, so you do that work to find a way to tell stories that are in some way the stories that you're not allowed to tell. And if you're doing that, then you're on the right path, I think. Because if you're telling stories that you're not allowed to tell, then there's something there that you need to find out, right? There's a such there. पाकिस्तान में तो यही है कि आप नहीं कर सकते तो उसके अंदर कुछ सच्चाई है जो आपसे छुपाई जा रही है, तो सच्चाई प्लीज आप निकालें कहीं से. I think this is so and the context is, you know, the world is burning, we'll be dead in 2 years, Kashmir में blackout हुआ है, everything seems really hopeless, but I think what we can do is tell the stories, find whatever means you can to at least for us to be able to share information that will help us get out of these situations. So I wanted to leave this on a more humorous note. So please bear with me. This is a very amateur attempt, but I'll play Maa Behan Ka Danda. Yeah, no,